everyone, and welcome to the Bliss Tonic YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being here. I would love, before we dive into this week's content, if you could like and subscribe to this video so that you never miss an episode and so that it increases us in the algorithm so more people like you can find the videos. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about negative entities. What do you think and feel when I say negative or evil or demonic entities? Shit's intense, right? So I think it's really important to talk about because I think it's something that a lot of people hold a lot of fear around. And so my intentions today is to just educate and help you recognize your own power, how to recognize maybe when they're present or attached to you, and how to clear them from your life and from your energy. And I want to say that protection is a huge piece of what I want to talk about today, and not what you think. So if you watch the episode where I share my entire spiritual journey from my time in Canada, I had a lot of experiences with negative, low vibrational, and evil entities. But guess what? I was calling it in. And this is a piece of wisdom that was passed down to me from a spiritual teacher. And it's that all shields are broken from the inside. So in some way, you are vibrating in a frequency that is a match to this entity in some way. So I just want to say that all shields are broken from the inside, okay? And so a piece of this protection that I was engaging with in my time in Canada is every single morning, and several times a day sometimes, I would put out my protective shield and specifically say to protect from low vibrational, negative, and evil energies and entities, right? And if you don't know anything about the law of attraction, well, here is your 101. Guess what? Because I was specifically thinking about it and stating it every single day, I was indeed calling in experiences that I had to interface with that energy that I was supposedly protecting myself from. However, it was a really integral part of my journey, and where I got the opportunity to face a lot of my fears. Like, I was so afraid of these entities, and it's because of how they're portrayed in the movies. Right? Like, you see some crazy shit in the movies. I don't watch scary movies anymore, but as a kid, some of them slipped through the cracks. I knew I never wanted to or could. And yet sometimes in social situations, I find myself in a movie theater watching Paranormal Activity. And doesn't that just bring up a lot of fear of like what is possible with an entity? And as I'm talking about this, I'm just going to claim my space. Yeah, I'm not calling any energies or entities in, just to be clear. And I am not going to work with, communicate, or engage with your energy in any way. Thank you. Okay. I should have done that before I pressed record. This is the lessons we learn, right? And I'm sharing this with you because I actually had an experience last night, but it was so minor, I almost forgot to that it would be something I would share with you. Okay, so let's talk about how we might identify if there's an energy or entity around us, attached to us, like in our energy, feeding off of us. So first of all, no matter how we perceive it with our extra senses, there is always an element of fear. And this is so important because in a lot of ways, that is what attracts them, and that is the energy that makes them stronger. And I just want to say one more thing before we go more into that, is that we don't need to be afraid of them. and I want to make that very important, is that the role they play is important in the entire matrix of our human experience. And it's not something we need to not look at or eliminate from the entire fold of existence and humanity, is that it has a role to play as well. Specifically, for many of us, it's to remind us of our power. And that specifically for me and my journey was a huge part of my awakening. Okay, so fear energy is so important. And what makes it different from perhaps just a somebody who has passed, like a ghost and an entity, could very well be the same thing, right? We don't know. But it's the vibration. And so we have lower vibration, we have dense vibration. And if you think about physical things, we have a very dense vibration to our physical body. And when we are engaging with negative or low vibrational thoughts, we are essentially in alignment with that low vibrational energy. Okay. So fear energy is really, really important, is that we're experiencing that fear. And a lot of times this is just a part of our experience. When we're awakening our abilities, we're also awakening our abilities to see things and experience things that perhaps we weren't aware of before. And I know for me, this was my number one fear when I wanted to start playing around with awakening my psychic abilities. This was my biggest fear. And I had to face it, and I learned about how powerful it was. Okay, so you can notice their energy in the receiving of really negative or dark thoughts. The sense of their presence. You may see a shadow, but their energy is always associated with fear, anxiety, like very intense dark emotions, and perhaps thoughts that replay in your head. So they can be perceived through any of these extrasensory senses that we have. And so depending on what's strongest for you, you may receive that knowing in a unique way to you. And so last night, it was very interesting when I noticed it. And a lot of times in the past, I've had a difficulty acknowledging their presence, because if I acknowledge it, then the fear can take over. But the very key to working with that energy in a way where you're in your power and you can create your space is you first have to acknowledge them. And I feel like it's a really important piece of it, because a lot of times I won't even admit it to myself until I feel cleared that they're there. And last night I was actually doing my meditation, and it was very my normal everyday everything, and Dan was asleep next to me and I had my eyes closed, and I could just sense a presence trying to distract me from my mantra, and then I could see a shadow. And I started feeling fear, is how I really was okay, pause my mantra. And anyway, so that's how I recognized it was there, is I kind of felt something distracting me from my mantra, and I felt fear, and I kind of saw with my eyes closed a shadowy spirit. And the fact that the fear was there was the number one indicator, right? And that's not always the case if it's a ghost necessarily. But typically I find that there's a difference between the energy of a loved one who has passed and a ghost is the vibrational difference. Okay, so we need awareness and not to feed the fear. And the biggest thing that I could just I wish I could pass on to you is that for negative ghosts, we'll say it, negative entities, that whether they're however you want to put it. Like there's a lot of terms that we throw out there, right? Like working for the darkness and like all of that. And like sometimes I think those terms don't always serve us, right? And so I like to just think about it as energy. And there's definitely various energies that are out there. And the biggest piece of advice I can give you is to have awareness without the fear and the courage to face it. That is the biggest, if you take anything from this, is have the courage to say, what am I feeling? Okay, don't go away from the fear and say, go away, go away, go away. Guides, take them away, blah, 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 right? First, we have to say, where is the fear in my body? What does it feel like? Okay? And now we're getting into like, how do we clear it, right? And how I cleared it too. So first we have to face it and acknowledge, like, I see you. We have to claim our space and make a declaration, right? This is our power. This is our like Gandalf moment with the staff. Like, you shall not pass. You're not allowed here. And so we have to have, like, from the core of our being, you are not welcome here. And so you have a claim your space and a declaration. Like, you're not welcome here, leave now. You have a, so that's the first one is face. The second one is claiming your space and perhaps like declaring your intention. And the third one is to see a bubble of white light, just spreading beyond your physical body, beyond the room you're in, and taking over your whole house, especially if you have other people in the house with you that you're kind of like, I just find that just doing a bubble around the whole house helps so much in just peace of mind. And number 4, you can ask your guides to assist you, but do not ask them to do it for you. Now, this is really important because in a way, if we're asking our guides to like, please take away these energies, we're giving away our power, and that's not serving us now, and it's not serving us in the long run. And so what we can do is ask for our guides to help us to clear the space, to assist these energies to the light, to whatever we want them to do. We can ask for their assistance. But to know that we're the ones in control. We're the ones who can claim our space, and our intention and our focus has so much power. And I feel like in a lot of ways, and I've done everything from like removing entities from people, a lot between 2010 and 2012, like a lot, like every day, several times a day. But again, remember, I was calling that in energetically by like saying specifically every day, I do not want this. And the universe doesn't hear the not. It's like, oh, this energy, you're saying this energy. Okay, we'll call in this energy, right? I wonder, does that make sense to everybody? Okay. And so, I've done clearings in more recent times, obviously for myself last night, and it worked, and I could tell when it was gone. And you feel that release of fear. You don't sense their presence, and it's a lot easier to engage with this visualization of like white light once they're gone. And then I just finished my mantra, and it was like no big deal, right? I also had an experience the day after Christmas, and I knew that I had like maybe a more sticky one that wasn't just like I can say go away and it goes away, but it was like a continual process. But it was asking me to go into the fear and to clear. And so here's some extra steps that I did when I felt like I had, like, it just, what I normally do wasn't working. And I know that that was because I wasn't clear enough. Just energetically, my energy, because I had been drinking on Christmas, that I essentially opened myself up to it in a lot of ways, which is why I haven't drank since Christmas. So, and I feel so much more connected and so much more powerful. It's huge. Okay, so here's extra steps that I did in that time where I felt like, oh, it's just kind of like what I normally do isn't working, but I know that it's okay and I'm in my power, and it'll just it'll slowly release. So you could do salt. So specifically, I actually did the float tank and salt therapy. So the sensory deprivation tank with like a ton of Epsom salt in it. And then I did a halo therapy, which is breathing in salt. You can also put a salt circle around you. You can work with protective stones. And I will say with stones, intention is everything. That stones carry consciousness, and for you to specifically care for your stones, to clear them, and then to essentially program them with what you would like them to do. And another thing you can do is prayers and affirmations. You can, whether it's an affirmation of like, I am clear, this space is mine, am I alone? I eliminate all energy that is not mine, and I call back my power to me. There's like little prayers and affirmations. And of course, if you have a certain deity or energy that you relate to or have a relationship with, you can absolutely say a prayer to that energy. Okay. So I hope that this helped, and it is just like a really brief touch on negative energies and entities. I guess I'll share one more story of a time that I did a clearing in a basement at a restaurant, and it was pretty wild, and I hadn't done this in a while, and to be honest, I was like, I knew I could do it, but it was also it's like, let's just see. And this is where the space where I was. I like walk into the bar, and I have my baby with me, of course. And it was a restaurant where I knew people who worked there, and so I left my baby at the bar. This sounds really weird now that I'm saying it out loud, and I had my like smudge and I had my things, and so I leave my baby at the bar, and I walk down to the basement where several people in the restaurant were saying that they had experiences that were not good. And I walk down there, and I'm like, why does it smell like blood? And they're like, oh yeah, we had like an incident with like blood from the meat and whatever. And it was just so creepy. It was very much so it added to the energy. And what I picked up was that there was a I guess you could call it a ghost, right? But then there was another, perhaps more like evil or dark energy that was essentially like connected to this person. And that this person, I guess we'll call it a person, but right, it's like a ghost or entity, was under the influence of this more evil energy. And I say evil, but again, I would rather say like lost, confused, separated from spirit, right? And yet they're still serving a purpose in the big picture of everything. And so I try not to look at it as like good or bad or right or wrong. These are just words we use to describe, right? Because we have this dual understanding of good, bad, right and wrong, evil, and the good guys and the heroes, right? So a lot of times what I see is that connection because these, I've used to call them lost dead ones, or there's lots of ways. Ghosts, but somebody who was a person and their energy is stuck to a place or to a person or to this realm in some way, that their vibration is still connected here in some way. And what I want to say about that is that it doesn't also mean that they're not home or heaven or whatever word you want to use for like, where do we go after we drop our physical body? And the best description that I like to engage with when talking about this is that, we have who we are as a human and our spirit that's in the human realm. And our spirit is also home, right? Our spirit is also in this place of unity and pure consciousness. And like two ends of a rubber band stretching wide, our spirit can be two places in once. And so it doesn't mean that that spirit also isn't in the space of like being in unity consciousness, but the aspect of their spirit that was also human is still in a vibrational match with the density of our 3D reality. We're getting dense now. Okay, so this spirit was confused, and I'll find this a lot, that they like don't realize that they are dead, and they get stuck in a lot of the negative thought patterns that happen to them in their life. So a lot of that negativity, which I found was connected to this other entity that was almost like using this ghost or dead past loved one, whatever this being, as almost like a, I don't know, they were like connected, and it was actually using that energy of the fear, and it was a lot of negativity with this being. Anyways, so I connected first with that spirit. It was just like, you know, that like your love, and you don't have to be here, that you can actually like let go of all of this and experience peace, because it was like influenced by this evil energy. Anyways, this all sounds really weird, right? But like here I am in the basement of like a restaurant with a smell of blood and smudge, and my baby's upstairs at the bar, and I like, it was just such a thing. Anyways, and then I was just like, yep, like I see you, and I don't need to feel. So I dealt with like the ghost, and then I dealt with this energy, and I just like spoke love to it. Like, it wants the fear. It wants the fear, and if you don't give it to it, it loses its power and is like, I'm not going to be here. So that's what I want to share with you, is that if you bring love to the table where they are expecting fear, it changes the entire conversation and the energy that's going on. Yeah, so that's just one story that actually was a little more recently, obviously, because my baby's only 2. So yeah, that's all I have for you today about negative energies and entities, and I hope that you found it helpful and picked up some information that is empowering and does not perpetuate more